One sunny afternoon, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy gathered around Tails' latest invention, a curious device gleaming with colorful lights. It was unlike anything they had seen before, with a sleek design and intricate details that showcased Tails' engineering prowess. The device had a central core that pulsed with a soft, rhythmic glow, surrounded by various dials and levers, each one more intriguing than the last. Tails, with his ever-present enthusiasm, couldn't wait to show it off to his friends, his eyes shining with anticipation. "This," Tails announced proudly, his voice brimming with excitement, "is my time twister. It can take us to any point in the past or future. Imagine the adventures we could have, exploring different eras, witnessing historical events, or even seeing the future." The group exchanged excited glances, the possibilities swirling in their minds. Amy's eyes sparkled with curiosity as she leaned in closer to get a better look. "That sounds amazing, Tails. Just think of all the incredible places we could visit," she exclaimed, already imagining herself in elegant ball gowns of the past or futuristic cities with towering skyscrapers. Knuckles, ever the cautious one, folded his arms across his chest. "It sounds cool, but are you sure it's safe?" "Time travel isn't something to mess around with," he remarked, though his tone betrayed his growing interest. "Don't worry, Knuckles," Tails reassured him with a confident smile. "I've run all the tests, and everything is stable. We'll be perfectly fine. This is going to be an adventure like no other." Sonic, always eager for new thrills, grinned and gave Tails a thumbs up. "I'm in. So, where should we go first?" he asked, his voice tinged with excitement. The idea of exploring different times was just too tempting for the speedster to resist. Tails quickly set the coordinates on the time twister, his fingers moving deftly over the controls. The device hummed with energy, and in a flash of brilliant light, they found themselves standing on a cobblestone street in a bustling medieval village. The transformation was so sudden that it took them a moment to adjust to their new surroundings. The air was filled with the aroma of freshly baked bread and roasting meat, mingling with the earthy scent of the stone streets. The sounds of villagers going about their day surrounded them, children laughing and playing, merchants shouting to attract customers to their stalls, and the occasional clatter of horse hooves on the cobblestones. The village was alive with activity, and the atmosphere was warm and welcoming. "Wow, we're really in the past," Amy exclaimed, her voice filled with awe as she twirled around, her pink dress catching the sunlight. She marveled at the sight of villagers dressed in simple tunics and gowns, the women carrying baskets of goods while the men worked the fields or tended to their shops. The group wandered through the village, their eyes wide with wonder as they took in the sights and sounds of a time long forgotten. Sonic admired the ancient architecture with its stone cottages and thatched roofs, while Knuckles examined the sturdy wooden beams of a blacksmith shop. Tails, ever the inventor, was fascinated by the simple yet effective tools the villagers used in their daily lives. However, their exploration was abruptly cut short when they heard a commotion near the village square. The cheerful atmosphere of the village was suddenly replaced with tension and fear. Rushing to see what was happening, they found a large group of villagers gathered around a mysterious figure cloaked in dark robes. The figure stood tall and imposing, his face hidden beneath a hood that cast deep shadows over his features. The figure was holding a small, glowing crystal that seemed to pulsate with energy, its light casting an eerie glow over the square. The crystal's glow was mesmerizing, and the villagers looked on with a mixture of terror and fascination. "This crystal can control time," the figure declared in a booming voice that echoed through the square, his words filled with malevolence. "And with it, I shall rule this village and all the lands beyond. You will all bow before me, or suffer the consequences." Sonic knew they couldn't let this happen. He clenched his fists, his eyes narrowing in determination. "We have to stop him," he whispered urgently to his friends. The stakes were high, and they couldn't afford to fail. As they devised a plan, Tails noticed something peculiar about the crystal. It looked identical to one embedded in his time twister, down to the smallest detail. "If we can get that crystal, we can stop him and return to our own time," Tails explained quickly, his mind racing with ideas on how to neutralize the threat. Knuckles, ever the brave warrior, stepped forward to challenge the figure, his fists ready for a fight. "You won't get away with this," he shouted, his voice full of confidence. He knew he had to act quickly before the figure could use the crystal's power against them. The figure laughed, a cold, sinister sound that sent shivers down the spines of the villagers. With a wave of his hand, he sent a blast of time energy towards Knuckles, freezing him in place. Knuckles' expression remained defiant, but he was unable to move. Trapped by the figure's dark magic, Sonic and Amy sprang into action, darting around the figure in an attempt to distract him. Sonic used his incredible speed to create a whirlwind, trying to knock the figure off balance, while Amy skillfully dodged the figure's attacks, using her agility to keep him occupied. Meanwhile, Tails worked furiously on deactivating the crystal's power, his fingers flying over the time twister's controls. Finally, with a well-timed spin dash, Sonic managed to knock the crystal from the figure's grasp, sending it skidding across the cobblestones. Tails quickly grabbed it, his hands shaking with adrenaline, and used the time twister to reverse the effects of the time freeze, freeing Knuckles from his temporal prison. But the figure wasn't finished yet. With a snarl of rage, he summoned more time energy, creating a swirling vortex that began pulling everything into it. The villagers screamed in terror as the vortex threatened to tear the village apart. "We need to stop him before the vortex destroys the village," Amy shouted, her voice barely audible over the howling winds of the vortex. Thinking quickly, Tails adjusted the time twister to close the portal, his mind racing as he calculated the necessary energy output. But they needed more power to stabilize the device. "Sonic, I need your speed," Tails called out urgently, his voice filled with urgency. Sonic nodded, understanding immediately. Without hesitation, he ran at full speed, generating enough energy to power the time twister. The device glowed brighter and brighter as it absorbed Sonic's energy, the swirling lights intensifying until they were almost blinding. With a burst of light, the portal began to close, the vortex shrinking as the time twister worked its magic. The figure's power was drained away, his control over time broken. He stumbled backward, his dark robes billowing as he retreated into the shadows, powerless and defeated. The village was safe, and the villagers slowly began to emerge from their hiding places, their faces filled with relief and gratitude. They cheered and clapped, their fear replaced with admiration for their mysterious saviors. As the last remnants of the vortex faded away, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy gathered in the center of the square, breathing heavily from their efforts. Tails held up the crystal, now dim and powerless, and placed it carefully into the time twister's core. With the crystal in hand, Tails set the time twister to take them back home. As they prepared to leave, a young villager approached them, a small, ancient coin clutched in his hand. "This is a token of our gratitude," the villager said, his voice filled with emotion. "May it bring you luck in your future travels. You will always be remembered as the heroes who saved our village." Sonic took the coin with a warm smile, touched by the gesture. "Thank you. We won't forget this place," he said, slipping the coin into his glove for safekeeping. Back in their own time, the group looked at the coin, its surface worn smooth by years of use, and wondered about the adventures yet to come. The experience had taught them that time was a powerful force, one to be respected and handled with care. But it had also shown them that no matter the era, Their friendship and teamwork would always see them through. As they walked away from Tails' workshop, the coin glinted in the sunlight, a small reminder of their incredible journey through time. And though they didn't know where their next adventure would take them, they knew one thing for sure. With a time twister in hand and their friends by their side, the possibilities were endless.